Good.
Welcome to Careering, Episode 1, the redo, this time with better audio. We are Aramis, Project Aramis, but we're not really going to talk much about Project Aramis. This is a show about kind of everything else, really about like the reality of the job market in cyber and in other job markets eventually. But we're gonna talk about more or less the same topic we talked about last week, but with another week of experience and reflection and insight. And this time, it'll be different. Who are you?
Well, for those that don't know me, I am CG. I am the CTO and co-founder of Project Aramis. I come here with about 27 now years of experience in tech. I started in something that we now call DevOps. I've also been a hiring manager and then moved into cybersecurity, primarily on the compliance side. I have a lot of experience being on both sides of it. I'm also a three-time startup founder. This is the third time around. Third time's always the charm, right?
Perfect. I'm Peter. I work with the captain. So what we're going to talk about, there is a tendency in any field to kind of like overdo, overwrite. Usually what we're trying to do is cover all bases because we're scared. We don't know what's going to land. So let me get to the point. If you were to lose your job tomorrow, what would be your message? How would you make sure that the next manager that you talk to clearly understands the problem that you can solve, the value that you can bring, to make it easy for them to hire? And we're going to talk about the managers and their perspective as well. But this is really about sort of like putting that at the top of the list so it removes the time, the risk, the cost. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about why it is that we tend to overload stuff. It is scary out there. I hope you don't look at the news because it's pointless.
I mean, if you're on LinkedIn at all, it's just nonstop. I've been searching for a job for this, and I've been searching a job for that, and it's been years and years and years, and even to the point where I saw a little blurb where a woman was like, "This is my Gap job, and it took me 2 years to get it," and I'm like, "That's depressing."
Yeah, I've been recruiting lately for a CISO job, rate of $125 an hour, which is really low historically for virtual CISOs. It's a fractional thing. Are clamoring for this thing. It is true that the market's really bad. It's not bad in every area though, and it's still awfully hard to find the right fit. So one thing that everyone should bear in mind is that someone is looking for someone just like you. They can't find you. And so the game that we're playing is not a volume game. It's really a matter of targeting and looking for the right thing for you. We're going to talk a lot about that over the coming weeks. Next week, we're going to talk about location. Come back for that. The system doesn't want us to get what we want. It wants us to almost get what we want. LinkedIn
Right.
makes more money if we keep buying, if we don't cancel the LinkedIn Premium subscription. Yeah. The certification providers, and I don't mean to talk total shit about certifications, although, okay, sometimes I do. Because I think to some degree they are culpable for a lot of waste and a lot of pain.
It's all a system, and it cycles around itself. It's get this certification, and but now you need the class for the certification, and there's a whole bunch of firms that are feeding. If you don't get the certification, you're not going to get in. And yes, there's some certifications that really genuinely provide some value in the sense that they prevent an automatic no because people continually ask for them over and over again. But you only have to get it once. It's not necessary to renew it after a certain point. You can just say, I had it at this point or whatever. You don't need to keep giving money to these. They're vampires sometimes. Not always, but a lot of times.
Not cool vampires, like bad vampires.
No, we're not talking like 19 1996 Dracula vampire. Like, there's no sexiness in these kinds of vampires.
No, this is like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Yeah, ugly vampires. Well, I mean, I got the CISSP 2002. I decided in 2004, I think, to stop paying the ransom. Why? Because it didn't convince anybody of anything anymore. Right? What we're trying to do is address also the anxiety on the part of the hiring manager. These days, if you're a middle manager and you lose your job, you're in trouble, because it's very hard to convey the value that you bring to the CRO sometimes, right? It's very hard to find those jobs. And as people have aged and the population has stayed pretty much uniform, because hardly anybody can afford to retire, you have fewer and fewer jobs as you go up and just the same number of people. So a lot of people sort of like aged out of technical roles into management roles, much of the time without even wanting it. I mean, a lot of managers who are like, I just want to be an individual contributor again. But my CV says I was a vice president for whatever. And so nobody will believe me when I say, I just want to be an engineer, right?
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
they're like, companies are like, but are you going to take that engineer's money, et cetera, that kind of thing.
Well, these days, I mean, I got VCSOs who are taking $200-300 pay cuts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad all around.
The company isn't thinking that. The company's thinking longitudinal. You're gonna also be a threat.
Well, and let's also remember that, like, there's no such thing as a company. Like, the company of the firm is a theory. They even call it the theory of the firm.
Yeah.
It's what I think it's more helpful to think about the people in the company. Now, we still have like archetypes like the hiring manager, the recruiter. I'm a recruiter, you're a hiring manager. You're an individual contributor and a manager sometimes. I sometimes consult, making me an individual contributor. I'm also an entrepreneur. But we move between these different roles. Our advantage here is that, like, we've done all of it and we keep doing all of it. And so we have the current perspectives, not just like from like a book or way back when. Mm-hmm. Most people don't have those perspectives. So in the point here, though, is like fear abounds. I've been thinking a lot lately about the pandemic and how, particularly in the United States, people are just like, they're trying to pretend that it never happened, or they turn it into some like daft partisan political thing, which makes no sense. We're all still hurting from it. We all lost people in one way or another. Most of the world, people are better about dying and death. Like, we're really good, I hear. Americans don't have that benefit. And so people still carry the anxiety from that. So just like, remember, when you're feeling anxious about your career, there's some other stuff being carted in. The industry as it is now encourages fear because the game that they're playing is just another certification, just another boot camp, right? Update your resume. Now, we'll do other sessions on how to do that. Like, Aramis does that for you, but we'll also teach you how to do it yourself, because it's all easily within grasp. Yeah. So you get into an interview and you have a half an hour. How much time do you really have?
15 minutes, really.
That 15 minutes, what is that divided into?
It's like 5-minute sections, because they got their questions, they need an answer. You got, generally when you're responding to them, I want to tell a little story I was going to tell last time about how I'm also a published lyricist through Paramount Television. And one of the things with Paramount Television, or anything where you're trying to go big with music, and there's an analogy, is that these executives for Paramount Television, they're listening to song after song after song after song after song. You got less than 30 seconds to hook them. Your hook has to start at the beginning of the song. You have to hook them within 15 seconds max. So in the first 5 seconds, you got a lead up of, do I want to keep listening to this? And then in the next 10 seconds, you got to start on the hook, and then that hook has to resolve itself by the end of the 15 seconds. And then by 30 seconds, you got to drop them enough that they're engaged, they're pulled in. And so the same thing applies to someone who is going over resume after resume after resume after resume. They're exhausted. The hiring manager has looked at 700 resumes. generally speaking, in tech says, I can only handle looking at this many resumes. The recruiter tries to dial it down to that many, and then the hiring manager has to look at it, and then it gets sent back to the recruiter of these are my top pick. And meanwhile, this manager is already a people manager, already doing all of these other technical things, everything else that's their normal day job, and they have to be on the line for whenever there's a problem and there's a fire or something else going on. It's a lot. It's a lot. So if you're not hooking them, like, your document is not hooking them, they're not going to keep listening to you, not going to keep reading your resume. Nobody's looking at the bottom of your resume and thinking about what you did 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to hook them in a song. You got to hook them in how many seconds?
It's you got to hook them within 5 to 10 seconds.
Why should this be any different, right? If we could use a resume as an example, it'd be super awesome. We'll just go over like the public stuff, and there's some things I want to point out in this regard. Credentials in general, and those could be degrees, certifications, that stuff, and alternatives to that. We all know so many people who sign up for WGU degrees, spent 2-3 years of their lives. What's a WGU master's degree cost these days? I've heard anywhere from like $12,000 to $25,000.
I think it's more in the 20, whatever. I mean, we're not accounting for real costs like living and expenses and the time and all that kind of stuff. Most people do the WGU bachelor's degree. They don't even bother getting to the next state. And it's still, the bachelor's degree itself is looking about like $35,000-$40,000.
I've noticed that there are people who go into degree programs and continue them and keep stacking them so that they can defer the student loan payments. I've also known people who, at least one person who worked very hard on her WGU master's in cybersecurity degree, couldn't get a job to save her life, couldn't get an internship, and she's just left cyber. Like, she's gone.
Yeah.
She started doing it because there was a time when everybody was told there's lots of work in cyber. It's easy. You can do it remotely. There was a period when everybody was working remote because it was to the advantage of companies to do that. There are still advantages as employers to do it, but those have been outweighed by the benefits to them in terms of like control on the appearances. You could build a stronger culture. Point is that some people just keep doing another degree or a PhD because they're not getting results.
Well, PhD is going to have the opposite impact, honestly, in the market. If you get a PhD and you're not going into research or something that is really academic, or something that really relies on an academic background, especially in tech, it's going to be very, very extra difficult for you to get a job. I'm sorry to say for those people who invested that time. And in the United States, it's not like overseas where they give you an exact amount of time. This is how much time it takes to get your PhD. In the U.S., you practically have to sue the organization before they'll give you your PhD. Your 7, 10 years, how many ever they'll let you go because they're getting free labor off of you. It works against you, unfortunately.
Yeah. So what do you do as an alternative? I mean, every credential is a kind of proxy for capability. It says, I have this, therefore I can do that. So maybe instead of certifications, job titles are those as well. Years of experience oftentimes doesn't mean anything. Now it does take time to acquire maturity. I've interviewed people who had like 10, 15 years in SecOps who didn't know anything. They were just doing clerical work with a SOC manager, SOC director title. Lists of tools are notoriously unreliable because nobody has time to test all of them. Right. Have things that are testable. Now, you can write up investigative documents and you can sanitize them or you can fabricate them. It's still your writing product. By the way, go ahead and use AI. Like, you're stupid if you're not most of the time. We expect it. The work product's usually better. Question is, does it read well? If you were in vulnerability management or engineering, fixes before and after. Yeah. Find a bug, fix the bug. You can put that stuff on GitHub or whatever, create a website.
Get some insecure code that came from an AI, refactor it, show where the vulnerabilities are, put it on your GitHub, show the differences. That's going to be really, really, really helpful for you. Like you put your GitHub at the top of your resume. GitHub, projects here.
Yeah.
Exciting things I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, and that last point is that kind of stuff is verifiable.
Yeah.
Right. The list of tools takes a lot of effort and time to verify. So that's what that's about. So the proxies don't show how you think. They don't show what's in your head. They don't tell you if you can distinguish between noise and signal or like truth and bullshit. They don't tell you how to deal with sort of messy situations. Like exams, even like the CISSP, which is like notoriously tricky, is still well ordered. And self-contained, but they don't. None of it gives the other person a sense of what happens when you're provided a total mess for which you need help, and you have to work in teams. They don't tell the hiring manager, the recruiter, how you work in teams. Like they're all very solitary, and we tend in the training space, particularly when it comes to on-demand training. Try hack me, hack the box. These are all like very solitary efforts. This is why when people come to me and they're like, how do I prove I know what I know? I'm like, find 2 other people. Don't publish as you. Publish as you and your friends. Come up with a fun name, get a mascot, and whatever. But like publish as a group. The other advantage there is you get to share your contacts, right? It's not so. Being able to work as a team and be able to work without supervision these are things that the usual proxies don't know. There is this term that goes around and it comes and goes. It's called imposter syndrome. First 10 years of your career, you'll be a moron. If you're me, that's what it was for me. Some like, CG, I know you're smarter than this. You probably got it after 3 years, but there was, I'm sure, a period of time when like you were just in the dark. Right. Some of us are lucky to have help.
I mean,
yeah.
I did all these things. I kind of just rolled with it and like learned things and whatever else. Everybody starts from somewhere, right?
We all show up totally clueless. And the game is be less clueless over time and about things that matter. Ultimately, the knowledge you acquire means nothing if you can't solve problems. So one of the things that you can try and suss out early in the conversation and high on the list, and you pick a problem that people have in the industry that you want to work, in the field that you want to work on, and describe that problem and then how you would solve it. If you don't know what that is, ask people. If you don't know who to ask, well, this is the topic of next time. Go to events and ask people. Find the people who work in that field and say, what are the problems that you're working on all the time? Fall in love with the problems, because that's what people care about. And so you can ask like, all right, X problem, what happens if that doesn't get solved? Mm-hmm. What happens, right? One option on any problem solution conversation is what happens if we do nothing? All right, what happens if, have you tried to solve that before? Why have you not solved it yet? Get really intimately familiar with the problem, and then the solutions start to flow from that. And then you can ask, like, is this a problem I want to work on for the next 10 years, right?
Attitude helps, and reframing stuff will help you with your attitude. And one of the ways that I reframe things is I never look at problems like, oh my God, it's a problem, it's insurmountable, there's going to be this and all these repercussions. I look at a problem as an opportunity. And that's how you want to write down. You're already in your job right now. Everything that you are solving right now, look at that as an opportunity, and write down that opportunity when you see the problem instead of like getting the anxiety around it. Say, what is this an opportunity for me to do? How's this an opportunity? And then write that down, and that turns into your resume later on.
Yeah. And it's the opportunity to help somebody, not just to get a job. The jobs come. So, like I said, somebody looking for you. They've got a problem. They haven't been able to solve it. They're looking for somebody who can solve it. They're hoping that's you, right? Anytime somebody interviews, there's like this urge, like, God, I hope this is the one, because I'm tired of interviewing people, right? So they want you to succeed. Next bit. Most people don't really give a shit about security. It's not cool. It's not glamorous. It never was. I mean, I used to ask people, a lot of SecOps people, this is years ago, why are you in security? Why do you want to do this? And then I would hear people say, I watched Mr. Robot.
Although that was a good show. I mean, it was actually pretty accurate in the first part of it.
He was insane.
I know, I mean, okay, it's not what he went through and the whatever else, but some of the actual tech that they put in the first season, like the first few episodes, was actually decent. I think.
Yeah, I've always felt bad because it's like, if you actually get a job here, you're going to be seriously disappointed. Because most cyber, particularly cybersecurity engineering and SOC and stuff like that, it's just engineering. It happens to have a intentional, like malicious adversary most of the time, who's trying to evade you. That's where it gets fun. Or if it's
sometimes that malicious adversary is the CFO that doesn't want to give you the budget for the thing that you really need to do to actually to protect them. And
yeah, well, but that's politics, and that's not just cyber. That's like everywhere. That's life. That's life and business stuff.
Most businesses don't like anybody but salespeople, and they only like salespeople when they're given the money.
I love salespeople for that. That's their job, right? Yeah. Their job isn't glamorous either, but they pay our paychecks, right? Yeah. They also can make problems if we don't provide them what they need to sell. Yeah. But when it comes right down to it, people want problem solved. People want to move, particularly these days. People either want to cut costs, or they want to go faster so that they can increase revenue, increase value. Right, the AI story is all about unlocking value by creating controls that allow people to go faster. Great, right? That's what the business wants. When we talk about supporting the business, that's it. When we talk about these things, vulnerability management is about reducing exposure, the time things are exposed, because the attackers are coming faster and faster. GRC much of the time is about lawyers. It's going to be increasingly about lawyers, and we're not lawyers, for the record. And if you're into that stuff, awesome, because we need you. We probably need a lot more of you, but we also need people who are looking forward to, like, why do we need to be compliant with this, that, and the other thing? Is so that we can move faster, make more money, without, putting the company at risk.
Sometimes companies, the only way you can get them to the page is for them failing their GRC stack.
Yeah. We often fantasize about, like, the day the breach happens, or the day the auditor shows up and sees what we've been complaining about for a long time. But in the end, when that happens, we all receive the damage, right? The company is hurt. Our peers are disappointed. And some of the money that gets paid out in fines could have come to us. Some of it, not all of it. It's still capitalism. Somebody else makes most of it, right? But it's a drain on resources, and we depend on those resources. Getting back to the main point, like, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Why you want to change jobs? My job's not interesting. Your job's not there to entertain you, right? I'm not growing in that job. Well, why aren't you growing outside of your job? I'm not getting projects. Why aren't they giving you projects? There are always projects, right? So consider, again, this is like you're always kind of interviewing for projects, responsibilities, the opportunities to learn. It's up to you. Moving on, like these are two ways that you can express your capabilities quickly or slowly. Typical claim, I manage vulnerability scanning. All right, fine. That could be written as reduce validated critical exposures from 43 to 11, et cetera. Numbers are good, but they better damn well be real, especially for somebody like me, because my eye goes to the numbers and I start asking questions. And if you can't explain those, work with SIM tools. Okay, what did you do the SIM tools? How did you actually work with them? Now, I want to raise a kind of a red flag here. Percentages are dangerous, particularly percentages that imply change. If you're going to use a percentage of change, make sure that you can tell the story around it. Better yet, another way to write this would be cut false positive 28% on a year-over-year basis while preserving coverage for priority use cases. And if you have space, say by, and then explain how you did it. Being careful not to violate non-disclosure agreements. Compliance. This is a goodie because like everybody uses the same frameworks and standards. What this does is it sets up more conversation. Like built evidence packages for the data controls, reduce auto follow-up requests by half. Audits take time and money, and they're scary. Get them over quickly. That's a benefit. Like, our audits take too long. Okay, let me see if I can make them shorter. Our audits are complicated. Great. Let's try and get continuous compliance to some degree, or at least like periodic self-assessments. It's not such a mess.
Cross-map them so that we could do them all synchronously, and that's going to reduce your time. Like, these are just things that you can talk about, like, how did you make things better for other people?
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants to know. Like, are you going to make it better for me being there?
Yeah. You know, there's a piece of advice that somebody gave me once. It was a mentor I had, and I was having trouble with all sorts of stuff, and they said, you know what your job is? I'm like, actually, I don't. He said, your job is to make your manager's life easier. Like, well, what do I do with that? He said, go to your boss and say, how do I make your life easier? And then shut up and listen for once. And I did that. I was reporting the CEO. I was CISO. And it didn't take but a moment. Like, you hardly missed a beat to have an answer for me. Right? And I don't remember what the answer was, but like, you'd be shocked at how easy it is to find out like what your mission is and ought to be. What do we notice about Jeffrey's LinkedIn profile from the jump?
I mean, this is going to be a little weird, but I do think that his image, his actual, like, this is me image could be a little better. Unfortunately, his face meshes too much with the background.
We obsess over headshots. Obsess. Because it matters.
It does. People want to see you.
Yeah.
So, like, shirt's great, smiling is great, face is great, different background.
What else? What do we like about this?
Security consulting services. It tells me what you do right away. It's good. It's concise. I wouldn't add too much more to that. It might be slightly redundant, but I still think it's fine.
Mm-hmm. This banner, a lot of people ignore banners, or like they'll just grab something that's neutral or leave the default or grab something cool. This is cool. It's too busy. It takes my eye away from Jeffrey's face. Like, Jeffrey's really friendly. Like, I would like to work with you. Like, you have a great photo, except the background blends in like the captain said. And I know it seems like we're picking nits, but good recruiters look at hundreds of these a day. And our eyes get tired. I get really tired. I'm constantly stricken with eye strain.
Yeah. I will also say that, like,
yeah.
They kind of know who, whether it's a hiring manager or who they're recruiting for,
Yeah.
is going to be attracted to. I believe this person could do the thing, and unfortunately, as much as we hate to do it, it's dumb, and we're all fighting bias, age, and everything else.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the United States, they don't make you put your picture on your CV. But if you were in France or anywhere else international, they make you put your picture on the CV,
Yeah.
your curriculum vitae, or thing.
Yeah.
I hate that because it just leans right into the bias. But people are going to go, they're going to go from your resume to this, and then they're going to see you before they even interview and make a whole bunch of opinions.
A lot of people just don't even look at the resume. Hardly ever do I read the cover letter. There's another story. But again, like, this stuff actually matters, but it's good, not great. Another thing that I would be really careful about, I would strip out MSCIS. Here's the problem. When I import this, like, I use an applicant tracking system, an ATS. It's called Recruiter Flow. I import it. It'll parse this stuff out. I've already, like, been over his stuff, so it's here. But see what it did? It took Jeffrey BSC, and it thinks that's his last name. Right? So some ATSs are smarter than others when it comes to figuring out what the names are. Most are crap. And so what they'll do is they'll confuse the name. Best thing in your name, first name, last name. If you're in Mexico and you have 4 names, I'm sorry, none of them are made for Mexican names. Pick your first name, pick your last name, stick with that. Do not put anything after that because it will just be put in the last name field. One of the things, an ATS compliant CV is just one that parses cleanly. That's it. And anytime you make somebody do data entry or like clean up the data, there's a tendency to go, I'm moving on from this one, right?
Yep.
So founder and principal consultant, cool, pick one. Pick one, really. Are you a founder or a principal consultant? And it's really a question of like, what do you want to do more? You can't cover everything up here anyway, so don't try. So let's say you strip this out and this is principal consultant, and then there's this. You already have the name of the company here, cool. Places, please put your city in. Don't just say United States. What city are you in? Even if you just want remote work, I see this all the time where it's just like United States. I'm like, where are you? Right? Sometimes people want to have coffee or be able to hand you a laptop or have an in-person interview. Sometimes it's a matter of like, I want to know who I can network with. And if I'm in Akron and you're in Akron, we can do Akron things. But if I don't know where you are, how do I know who you are? This is why my LinkedIn profile says Dallas and not Oaxaca, even though I never go to the country you live in.
It's a little long.
Here's what I could easily see stripping out. Particular skills go down. They go down here. These things can be linked with your jobs. I would strip this way down, take any skills and move them down to skills. How about the experience? This is pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, actually, I like it. It's more for the recruiter who's looking for you on LinkedIn versus like, I will tell you that refining my LinkedIn gives me much better results than even applying. When a recruiter comes to me, I already know I have a captive audience. I know that they've looked at my my LinkedIn, they've done an analysis to look for the right people, and they're reaching out to me because they think I'm going to be the right person instead of having to wade through all the people that applied.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Thing about dashes is they're apps. So like whenever, like in Aramis, we have a stage in the process where we'll create you LinkedIn text from your CV, your assessment, your existing LinkedIn profile. And one of the prompts is like, instead of bullets, use dashes and spaces. And then, because then you can like copy and paste cleanly. I would suggest there are too many bullets here probably. Most recent job is usually going to be long, like 5 to 9.
yeah.
Here's what I would do with this. Export your LinkedIn profile, go to say to PDF. Take that file and your resume, upload them to the LLM you're choosing. You say, you are an expert resume writer. Make me a new resume and text for a LinkedIn profile. Don't invent anything and don't add any percentages that weren't there to begin with. You will probably get a much better set of text from that than you would get from like, I paid $3,500 for a resume consultant. She was awesome. It was like career therapy. Most people charge $200 to $500 for this. What I just suggested is free. So go ahead and do that.
If you get to the point where you're trying to make your resume specific to a job, use a little bit of, instead of going in LLM and saying, rewrite this resume for this, pop in your resume and do a little hack that I found actually works really well, much better, which is say, how does this candidate not fit for this job description? Look for the negatives, and then you can rewrite your resume to minimize that. And that's much more helpful, I've found, rewriting the resume around how you don't fit, because then that isolates all the ways that somebody's going to turn you down based off of your resume.
Right. Or on the flip side, point to the job description and say, should I even apply for this thing? The problem with that approach is it assumes that the job description is well written, which most of them are not. Most of the job descriptions that I see from my clients and from jobs I'm looking at are at least as bad as the resumes I'm seeing. Again,
Well,
that's
yeah.
part of the thing that we're trying to do with Aramis is fix both sides. Yeah. So here, ultimately, what we're trying to do is make people feel less scared. We're scared, they're scared, everybody's scared. The recruiters are terrified. It is an awful market if you're a market maker. And that's what recruiters are supposed to be doing, is making a market. It's awful right now. So what we want to try and do is make sure that the person that we're pitching, if they're a recruiter, feel that if they present your stuff to a client, it's going to make them look good. Like they've done their bit, like they've earned their keep. Think about the ordeals that people go through with like interview after committee interview, like panel interview. Why? And you're asked the same stupid questions half the time. Why does that happen? Because they don't want to be the only one to be blamed if it goes sideways. If you don't work out and only the hiring manager and maybe one of their people and maybe their boss interviewed you, there are fewer people to carry the blame. But if it was like 30 people, wow, all these other people liked them too, right? If you want to avoid that whole thing, you want to get through it quickly. What I do as a recruiter is I still do my own tech interviews. I record them. I send the recording and the transcript and a profile with all the stuff that I talked about earlier. I send that to the hiring manager. And then usually it's like 1, maybe 2 interviews, occasionally 3 after that, and they're done. Why is it so few? Because they've seen it. They have the evidence, and they know you're good because you passed me. All right, so here's the situation we're in. The entire system is broken. You have job seekers doing like high volume applications. You have employers who are writing like crappy job descriptions. Nobody really teaches hiring managers to write job descriptions. A lot of the time HR doesn't know, they know how to write job descriptions, but they don't know the domain. They don't know what they're hiring for. And so people pile keywords in, and no one actually knows what they mean or how they apply. Certifications, again, we talked about how those are standing in for capabilities, but how often do they apply to jobs? We were talking about CISSPs earlier. Love the CISSP. What the hell job is a CISSP? I've never hired a CISSP. I've hired people who had CISSPs.
Yeah.
I've never hired a Security Plus. I've hired people who had the Security Plus. Security Plus I love too. I did it in beta. It's not bad. It's too expensive now.
It's
Yeah.
really rare that you find someone like me who writes a job description for exactly what I know that I want them to be able to do. And it just made my job so easy because I could immediately look at a resume and be like, I know that this person can't do the job that they need to do. They just saw that the title and they applied for it and they didn't read through my job description. They didn't bother to read. And I already know that they can't do the job or they haven't done the job or whatever else is going on. I'm a rare person though. I read every single resume that like all the way through, and I have a BS meter that says this thing that you put in your resume is BS.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the hiring manager you actually want, because that's the hiring manager who's going to be like, I know what you can do and I believe in you. I'm going to give you a few more keys when you come in the door, and it's going to be really rewarding for you.
Right. And if they don't understand the job description, they don't understand you at the beginning, you think it's going to get better after that? We can't all be CGs. We can't, but we probably all could have dragons on our ears.
These dragons are awesome.
They're awesome. I love those things. So here's how we do it in Aramis, and this is how you can think of it in terms of what you do. Again, not a certification. In fact, the more I hear about certifications from a candidate, the more I tend to shut off. Think about the job itself. If you're a SOC analyst, if you are an incident responder, if you're a security manager, if you do AppSec, think in terms of the job and the responsibilities of the job. You can like search for this stuff and create kind of a model of what you're looking for. That's how we started Aramis. This is back in November when I started building it as an internal tool. Then the next step is, for the job that you map it to the responsibilities and the capabilities, and then ask like, have I done this stuff? Like, can I demonstrate it? Now, sometimes it's proprietary. You did it at work and you can't really do much with it, but you can simulate. If you did it in production, you could do something like that you can show your work, make sure that people can verify it in some fashion. You can't do it with everything, but you can do it a lot. one of the things you can do is like you can take each of these, throw it into an LLM with your information, and say like, how could I demonstrate this? Like, it's not cheating, it's leverage.
Yeah.
What we're always often looking to find out is not like what you've done, but what change you can affect, right? And that is demonstrable in some of these ways, like risk acceptance decision frameworks. There's a lot of third-party risk management going on right now. It's actually how you get better security by getting other people to do better security. It's like putting the risk on them. So there are documents that you can create with that. What gets patched first guide, right? So if you look at a typical set of vulnerabilities, much of vulnerability management is just about prioritization, right? Once you get past like catch up on whatever sort of mass patch you do, you get down to the things that require hands-on systems to actually make the changes happen, or particularly if it's in-house or fiddly configure it, or let's say it's Java on the desktop, which is usually a nightmare. You have to prioritize. So writing up your decision-making around how that would work is another thing that you can provide that would give you proof. Okay, so here's the flow on these things. If you're new, these are things that you can do to demonstrate your awareness of these things. You don't have any experience. You may have very little of experience, but these are the things that you can put together. If you've been around for a while, you should be able to talk about, again, going back to the example on a previous slide, specific quantifiable cases, and here these are more strategic, right? So here's what I would suggest you do tomorrow. Pick a role, pick the one that you most want. It can either be the job you're in or the job that you want next, or maybe the one after that. I would suggest plan on staying in the same kind of role until the end of this economic depression, and don't let anybody tell you it's not one. Seek safety at this point. So take your job, what you know to be a key task of that job, find an artifact that demonstrates that you know how to do the job. Probably going to write a simulation. You're going to make something that's similar, but not something that you take from your work. Please don't take stuff right out of work. Like, don't even de-obfuscate. Like, make something new. Yeah. Where would the market see it, Captain?
Ooh, I mean,
like GitHub, right?
Yeah, I would say GitHub. There's a lot of like team things. Go to B-sides for freak's sakes.
Yeah,
talk about stuff.
Yeah,
employers are often at B-sides.
Yeah, some of them are.
But B-sides always runs a find it, hack a thing, whatever else. And if you happen to get any kind of rewards, put those up. Like, make yourself a website. Put those up there. You know?
That's where I was going with this. GitHub is fine for storing stuff for free.
Yeah.
It is pretty ugly to the recruiter or the non-technical manager. Like the HR rep who's recruiting is not going to want to go there. But you can vibe code something for free.
There's a million very inexpensive make yourself a website services out there that have boilerplate. I mean,
like GeoCities and MySpace. Here's the most important thing. Show it to people and ask them, do you think this is convincing? Like, you can ask yourself that. I'm used to asking myself, like, would I buy this thing? Because I kind of do marketing for a living. That's a lot of what I do, right? I fake it at security. I fake it at recruiting. I fake it at marketing. And I've learned to critique myself because I've beaten my ego to shit. Go to our Discord, put the link there, and say, this is the thing that the knucklehead from Mexico said to do. Would you find this convincing? Or whatever form you like, right? Most people are in some kind of form or another. Ask people's opinion. Ask friends, ask strangers. Based on this, would you believe that I do this? And if the answer is no, ask why, ask for suggestions. But when you get to the point where it's like, yeah, I totally get it. That's where that 5-minute thing is. And again, like the captain says, it's more like 15 seconds. Look at your resume and your profile. And if there are things that are vague, get specific. If there are claims that are made that depend on things that the reader can't know, like internal stuff, or also specific knowledge about the domain, rewrite. A couple of things. One, when you're rejected for a job, yes, there are things you can learn from it. There's always things that you can improve. However, every job is competitive. That means there's somebody else who is likely to already be the one who's going to get the job, and no one knows when they start, they get picked. You not getting the job doesn't mean that you weren't qualified. Again, like that CISO thing, there's one person getting that job. I know who they are, right? 114 applications, probably like 50 of them well qualified for the thing. But the people who got it were like working in that field and are geographically located close. So please don't beat yourself up for it. This is all about improving the odds. That doesn't mean like spray and pray 1,000 applications. That just wastes your time and everybody else's. In fact, frankly, when I get one of those and it's way off, I mark them as do not hire. And I'm not the only one who does that. So don't waste my time. I read every last one of these. Other recruiters, the good recruiters, take that approach because they know that their time is valuable and that your time is valuable. Do you want 50 interviews that don't land, or do you want like 5 and one of them lands? Think of it that way. The other thing, and we're going to talk about this next week, is about how network really works. Networking is not exclusively a LinkedIn thing. It's about building relationships and being of service and finding people who are generous and expressing generosity with them.
How to get past all the people that you work with are remote and still turn that into a networking opportunity for you.
Yep. So thanks everybody for coming. Join the Discord. We're going to be doing this every week. So it's called Careering. We're going to be talking about like how the industry really works. This time we're talking to people who are looking for work. We will also be talking to hiring managers. We'll be talking to recruiters. You're all important here. You're all in a system that's broken.
For all of us.
For all of us. And if we can all learn to understand each other's perspectives and what we all sort of suffer through and why we've been doing it, then we can start to rectify the situation. Check out Project Aramis. We're running a special till the end of the month where instead of like $602, it's like $199 for the full suite of assessments.
Which includes an in-person assessment that they talk to you and vet you beforehand and help you out with your resume. You're getting pretty good. This is a really good value. I feel like we're undershooting ourselves.
It's called the Founders Special. project-aramis.com/founders. It expires at the end of the month. What we're trying to do at this point is just get a lot of people through it so that we can learn about you and you can learn about us and we get feedback. Every time we do one, we get testimonials. People really like it. And it's fun. Like, it makes us feel good. In the end, we could make a ton more money selling bonds on Wall Street, right? We do this because of love.
I've been training people in tech since I was in college. I got through college teaching ESL students how to use computers and 2 jobs ago, I boot camped a bunch of customer service people right into a software engineering position. 7 of them, in fact. I want people to succeed. I care about this. I want you to succeed. I want you to get jobs. I want you to be happy in the jobs that you're in. And I want you to not be afraid that you're going to not have a job and not be able to eat and pay your rent and all of those things that we know at the end of the day, that's why we're doing it.
So, thanks again. See you guys around.
Have a good night, everyone.